Well, here we are, the penultimate BlueTube live, and what a spectacular day we're having. Tony, I'm hoping if anybody's there they can tell me whether the audio is working, because I can't hear anything at all.
We can't tell whether it's working from here, can we? Oh.
I'm just going to actually, if somebody could tell me if you're listening now whether we're on audio, that would be great. Tony, if you want to say a few words so we can test your microphone.
Yeah, well, here we are again in the Bluebell wood, but yeah, in my mind the bluebells are almost at their peak now. It's incredible how it's changed since last week.
Thanks, Danielle, for your thumbs up there.
It's working, is it?
It
Excellent.
is, and you can hear Tony all right, can you? Nice and close, because I can't hear him on my headphones.
Excellent.
Well, it's a good reason to have a pause and listen to some of the birds. What have we been hearing and seeing this morning already?
God, they seem particularly loud today for some reason. There's a blackcap over there. You can hear a chiffchaff. I like birds that tell you their name, and a chiffchaff tells you what its name is. It's a greater spotted woodpecker. All sorts of things. What else have you heard? Robin, obviously, and jackdaw as well. We just heard.
Great. And Jan says all good, which is great.
Excellent.
So, what have we got behind us at the moment?
Well, a great carpet of bluebells, which is fantastic, isn't it? Actually, looking around this wood, it is dominated by bluebells. There's actually, over most of it, there's very little else. And this makes the point I made a few times ago, whereas this is effective long-term management. Bluebells respond particularly well to a coppice management. So you cut it down every few years and let it grow again. And bluebells love that. So they tend to really thrive in those conditions. So it really reflects a traditional form of management. So this great carpet of bluebells, it's actually an effect of human intervention rather than it being entirely natural. If this was natural, there'd be wild boar in here digging up most of these.
Well, Felicity says it's fabulous purple haze, and we're actually going to take a closer look at some of the bluebells and find some things out about them. We'll just come over to this corner here, because I think you can get a sense of the scale of it here. And we'll come a bit closer. So Tony, do you want to explain something about these bluebells?
Yeah, well, we look at, as I said before, we're looking at the native bluebells here, and I think if you look closely, they're not even fully out yet, which is brilliant. So they've still got more to go. And I just noticed today we can actually start smelling them. But I've also done some extensive research, which means looking briefly in a book at home. And I was looking for what kind of local names there are for bluebells and some of the other plants we've seen. And yeah, well, there's loads of them. There's a great book called The Englishman's Flora, which tells you all the local names of different plants. And so one of the names is blue bottle, blue trumpets. I suppose that's predictable. Crowbells is another one. In the Welsh or the Gaelic or the Irish, though, they seem to be a lot to do with cuckoos. It's called cuckoo boots or cuckoo shoes or cuckoo flower. So yeah, all sorts of local names.
Now he is actually reading off a list here.
This is
homework.
my extensive research. This is, but there's loads more. You can go into this book and probably other books as well. And it's not just bluebells. There's a half a page of different local names for bluebells, which is brilliant. And it's the same with all sorts of other plants we come across.
And what would bluebells? I mean, would they ever be used for anything in the
Yeah,
past?
I think they were used for starch in their tubers for various things.
Wow.
I don't know how you do that now, and no doubt somebody who's listening will be able to tell us. But yeah, they certainly were used. And of course, pigs and wild boar like them. They gobble them up.
Now, whilst we're looking at these, we did talk last time about the Spanish bluebells.
Yes.
We're not going to see any Spanish bluebells, thankfully, in this woods. But Mark, who can't be on live today, said that a friend of his was worried about them in her garden, and she didn't know whether to dig them up, and she didn't know whether to just plant them in the park.
Oh, no, don't plant them in the park. I mean, there's a general thing with non-native plants. In fact, almost any plant. I wouldn't go and randomly plant things in the countryside, particularly things that are non-native. Spanish bluebells, yeah, they are big and aggressive. They maybe don't interbreed quite as badly as we thought they do. But why make a problem? Certainly don't go and introduce things into the countryside. And that goes with anything that's. Don't go. One of the greatest causes of extinction is the wrong thing in the wrong place, and introducing non-native plants into the countryside can be devastating. Think of rhododendron. Think about some of the wetland plants like parrot's feather, which take over and completely kill things. Yeah, don't do it.
Ah, well, you've heard that here.
Good to dig them up, if anything.
But yeah, I was going to say, what about taking them out?
Yeah, I would take them out. I mean, if they're in your garden and you can control them and make sure they don't spread, that's fine. I mean, that's the same with all garden plants. But whatever you plant, make sure you can control it, and then you can have all sorts of plants in an area. But, you know, we don't want things getting out into the countryside because we don't know what the effects are going to be.
Now, why would you need to plant anything when nature does it for you? Look
absolutely, yeah. It's the human desire just to interfere and actually just leave things alone. But actually, looking at a wood, you can read how it's been managed or how it's worked in the past, which I've said before. And it's quite interesting just looking at this, because I would guess the past management here, long time ago, I guess this was a hazel coppice with oak trees. But now what we can see here is the hazel is less. It's being overshadowed by the oak trees. There are more oak trees, I think, now than in the past. They're quite close together. And if you look at some of these, you can see what's actually happening is some of the oak trees are dying. Some of the trees are dying. It's a process called self-thinning. You start off with a large number of medium-sized trees, and you start to head towards a smaller number of big trees. So you inevitably get the odd one dying, which looks a bit sad. But actually, when we were looking earlier, some of these oak trees that are dying have got big cracks and dead limbs on them. And we looked at one, and there's in a crack there's now a great tit's nest. And I think Jerry saw a jackdaw's nest in one of the holes that resulted from a branch dying and falling off. So this is all part of the woodland dynamics. So things don't stay the same. They start off in one. You start at one point, but then you think over time we'll end up with less and less trees, but they'll be bigger and bigger. And then they'll fall over and it'll kind of start again. So I think what happened here, probably years ago, there was some opening, and what we got is sycamore coming in. So you see all the small trees, a lot of the small trees, they're all self-seeded sycamore. So you see it's always moving. Woods never stay the same, it's just that they're on a long time scale, so we don't really notice the changes.
And the oaks that are here, are those the standing oaks that would be left when the coppicing is
That's
done?
right, yeah, that's right.
I'm learning.
Absolutely. I think there's rather too many of them here, and I think that there was possibly a half-hearted attempt to change the wood from a coppice into something which is more of what we call a high forest, where you have more big trees. But it hasn't been managed for years. I can almost imagine rows, or I don't know whether they were planted. But it's like the canals on Mars, isn't it? You can always imagine rows when there weren't any, so I'm not sure.
Well, let's take a little walk up here, because you've got some other local names as well for plants, so we have to find our plants. Before we do, I would like to also prove that I've done my homework. I've been feeling a bit nervous here, because part of last week was looking at birch, silver birch and downy birch. And
Shall I say what's this one then? What's this one then?
Okay, well that's really easy. I would say that's a silver birch.
That's right.
Phew. And that's because of these sort of triangular, big, harsh shapes right down here.
That's it. And that one over there?
Oh, that's a really good example. Let me just show our viewers. So this one that I'm looking at here, I know that some of you will know what this is a downy birch, because all the way down to the bottom it's the same sort of look, rather than the silver birch, which is actually right next to it.
Yeah.
Am I sounding a bit more confident?
You're sounding quite an expert now. Yeah, and it's great to see the two together, because generally speaking, the silver birch likes it slightly drier, whereas the downy birch likes it slightly wetter. So you often find downy birch in the valley bottoms alongside older trees and so on. But they obviously, because of here, they cross over.
But what's great, and this is why I love doing this, is that you do learn. And then when you walk through woods like this, it all comes alive in a different way, because you know things. And I think that's worth everyone having a go, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, there's a big stump over there as well, which shows that this was a wood with very large old oak trees in, sometime in the past.
Oh, Felicity, she was impressed by Jerry's spot of the nest, and also the woodpecker, but she does confess that she loves rhododendrons. What are your views on rhododendrons?
Well, I think like anything, look after them in the right way. So rhododendrons are great if you have them in a place where you can keep them where they ought to be. But you may like rhododendrons, but if you go to places like Ireland or the Lake District, whole mountainsides are covered in just rhododendron and nothing else. And they actually produce when the leaves rot, they actually produce a toxic substance which physically prevents other things from growing. So they're very, very
Felicity,
aggressive.
Are you going to change? You live near the Lake District, don't you? Are
Oh,
you going to
dear.
change your mind about these rhododendrons?
Just keep them in gardens. Well, think of Leonardslee Park, and that's a massive rhododendrons. I think they're trying to prevent them getting out, but it's famous for its rhododendrons.
Yes. I mean, they do look spectacular,
Yeah.
especially in May, don't they? And here we are, 2nd of May. Amazing.
Yes.
Now you must wonder where we're walking. Well, first of all, we're just showing you how wonderful this wood is, and so peaceful. I mean, there's a little bit of road noise because we're quite near to other things, but as we come out into this bit more of an opening, well, look at this. We can see the sorrel here.
That's
Do you
it.
have a local name for the sorrel?
Oh, I didn't look them up. Maybe I'll look them up now. Yeah, when I get back. But
Okay.
I didn't look up any.
We'll post up if we get a local name for the sorrel.
Yeah.
There's still plenty of it, isn't there?
Yeah.
And then, if I don't trip over, we have the. Is that the red campion?
That's it. That's red campion. Yeah.
I'm not going to do this without you, though. You know.
And just here we got the leaves of the wood anemone. And I looked up wood anemone. What do we find for wood anemone? Yeah, again, all sorts of local names, which is great.
A bit of a flower here. Look.
Yeah, a
it's
bit
gone
past
It's
it.
starting to go, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Well, there's a few in the back.
yeah. There's some in flower just behind us.
So what did you find out about?
Well, I found out one of the local names is windflower.
Windflower.
Fairies windflower. I looked up. A lot of things seem to have fairies in the name. I don't know why. Granny's nightcap was nice, or
Granny's nightcap.
or lady's
Let's have
purse. But this is the only one where I found a Sussex name, and the Sussex name seemed to be drops of snow. So I don't know whether people in Sussex here know that name, or if you've heard of other local names for wood anemone. I didn't know any of
one's
these.
actually Pink.
Yeah, they do vary from pink to
So
white.
you would think the drops of snow
Yes.
coming around your way would be more like this one here.
Yes.
Oh, we're getting there.
Well, when you think about it, when you see wood anemones sometimes of the year, it can look like the wood is covered in snow. So they just all come out at once, and especially in the Weald of Sussex. What else have I
Lovely,
looked up?
isn't it?
All other things,
Well,
yeah.
it'd get confusing with snowdrops, wouldn't it? Drops of snow,
Yes,
snowdrops.
yes. The snowdrops are non-native,
Are
for
they?
example. Yeah, they don't come from this country. I mean, they're kind of incorporated here and nobody minds about it. Some plants can be really aggressive and you don't really want them there. Others just form part of our flora.
Yeah.
But it's more normal for things to just fit in, so we shouldn't worry too much. But some things can really run rampant, so you don't want to encourage that sort of thing.
Jan's googled wood anemone and the nicest local name is Sleeping Beauty.
Sleeping Beauty.
Oh.
Excellent.
Well, they do feel like they're sort of tucked in there in the
Yeah,
woods, don't
yeah.
they? And Viv has asked to remind us of the difference between two types of oak.
Oh yes,
So-
that's a good question. Well, I mean, the leaves aren't open now, but I would guess that this is the common one, the one you're most likely to come across, which is called Pedunculate Oak, which is a bit of a mouthful. But the reason it's called Pedunculus Oak is the peduncle is the stalk of the leaf. Okay, and this oak has a leaf with a stalk on it. So it's called Pedunculus Oak. We also get something called Sessile Oak, and it's called Sessile Oak because the acorns are sessile, which means they don't have a stalk. So it's the other way round. The acorns don't have a stalk. But that's more northern, and we do get that here occasionally, actually more in ancient woods, because the Pedunculate Oak tended to be planted more or favoured more. So you've got two species of oak, the Sessile Oak, which is more northern, and the Pedunculus Oak. I mean, sometimes people call the Pedunculus Oak just English oak because it's the one you come across most.
Now, just before we go, let's have another look at the Sleeping Beauty, because I
Oh,
think
yes.
these look pretty good.
I think
there.
henceforth we call it Sleeping Beauty.
Sleeping Beauty, I like that
Yeah.
one. And Felicity's asking, where did the snowdrops come from? If they're
That's a
not-
good
they don't
question.
belong?
I think they are European. I don't think they're far away, but I don't think they're native.
I'm just doing a close-up here, because Ali Gunston's joined us, and she might have missed the beginning. She might not have seen all these wonderful bluebells. So we have got rather a lot here, and we've got a smell this week, haven't
Yes, we have. You can just about pick it up. I mean, there's a slight breeze, but when that dies down, you can start to smell them, which is brilliant.
we? And does the sun bring the snow?
I think it does. Yeah, I think it does. Yeah. Well, you think what the smell's for? It's actually to attract the insects, and so it brings the insects in.
And we've seen quite a few insects, haven't we?
Yes, it's pretty good for big bumblebees at the moment. We're probably queens looking for somewhere to either have a nest or visiting their nest.
Now there's planes going over. We
Yeah.
are quite near to housing here, but it's surprising how much is undisturbed as you go across here. It's not so good when you're on Facebook Live because I'm having to go in portrait, but look at this colour on these, look at that.
Oh, that's a deep one, isn't it? Deep colour.
Look at that. I mean, somebody was asking about the Spanish bluebells, and you can, I just see a bee in the background there.
Ooh.
On one of the bluebells.
That looks like a red-tailed bumblebee. Well,
is it a red tail?
I think so,
It is,
but
yes.
again, I'm not a bumblebee expert, but it's a bumblebee with a red tail.
It might come close. Do bees have ears?
I don't know.
Let's just see if we can see it come close. Oh, it is coming close. Look at that. I don't know how close I can get. You could really see it drinking, can't you? And there's the woodpecker.
The sounds of a wood. A
I'm
bee.
stretching out here, but I have to say, watching that red-tailed bumblebee on the bluebells, you think, wow, what a feast.
And we've got a blackcap singing in the background and a woodpecker drumming.
Oh, this is heaven, isn't it? I hope you're enjoying this too. We've got a few hearts coming up. I am just stopping for a moment because it's just so amazing. I wanted to show you a red tail last week, but every time before we hit press for live, things disappear, don't they? Look at that. I don't know if I can zoom on Facebook Live. Let's just see. Oh, I can a little bit. Look at that. Oh. Thanks, Danielle. Oh, you're off walking off the grid in Wales. Well, I hope you managed to see some bluebells there. We had some lovely bluebell pictures sent in from Lancaster, from Felicity, and in Somerset. And we were just watching. I don't know how to make it go back out. Oh, look, I can go even closer. I'm just learning now. It's a bit late, isn't it, really? So I'm still following that bumblebee. I didn't realise that I could actually zoom whilst we're live. There we go, look at that. And we have dog walkers here as well. The woods are for everybody. Pretty special, isn't it? Right, well, Tony, have you got anything else to say before we conclude this week's?
Yeah, there's a couple of other things. I was looking at some of these common names and I thought we might see some yellow archangel today, but we haven't seen any. But if you know yellow archangel, it's like a yellow dead nettle. And maybe it's down the bottom of the slope, so I haven't seen any here. But I just like some of the local names for that. It seemed to have a lot to do with weasels.
What have we got for yellow archangel?
Weasel's nose, weasel's snout.
Ah.
So why weasels? But interesting, the Latin name is galeobdolon. So galeobdolon luteum as in yellow. And but galeobdolon, apparently, either in Greek or Latin, not sure which, means weasel's stench. So
a lot of weasels in there. You don't see many weasels anymore.
No, and the first thing I think of when I pick up a yellow archangel isn't, God goodness, that smells just like a weasel. So I don't know where these names come from.
Oh, dear.
But it's brilliant, isn't it?
Well, that little moment made it all worthwhile, didn't it? Just to know about all of these things and to see the beauty. This is our penultimate BlueTube Live because next week we reckon they're going to be at their very best. And we're going to return, I think, to the woods that we started in.
Oh yes.
Yeah, because it's been a little
why
while.
not? Yeah.
We didn't get too bored, did we?
No, I don't think we got too bored. Can't get bored in a wood. Yeah, and looking at this wood, it is an extensive carpet of bluebells, but I think if anything, the wood we went to before, it's more varied. Remember, it had the daffodils to start with, but I think actually when you look in more detail, there is more diversity in that wood even than this one. So it'd be interesting to go back.
So we will go back. It's going to be the later time of 2:30. So I've got to work in the morning. Terrible thing. But for now, we will leave you with the beautiful bluebells in this wood, and we can smell them now, can't we?
Yeah, yeah. We'll have to get a new form of Facebook where you can smell as well as see.
Okay, we're going to start something new. Thanks all for joining us, and those of you watching on the recording, I hope you enjoy it. Speak to you soon.